Welcome in everyone, this is Jordan with Ravens Flash Report, and today we're going to take a quick introductory look at each of the 11 draft picks by the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I'll admit I'm a bit tardy to the party when it comes to analyzing the players that the Ravens have drafted, but that has also allowed me to get more familiar with some of the lesser well-known prospects that I was before the draft. I did a fair amount of pre-draft research, but I'll admit I didn't study up on over 400 different college football players, so you'll have to forgive me for that. Anyway, let's kick things off by going through the players that the Ravens drafted, starting with their first-round pick and number 27 overall, safety Malachi Starks out of the University of Georgia. Starks is arguably the best safety in this year's draft, and while athletically he isn't at the level of Kyle Hamilton, which few are, and that's really not Starks' game anyway. What Starks is going to bring to the Ravens is versatility, and I think what the Ravens front office and coaching staff hope is that he can operate as the deep safety and let Hamilton get back to being the whatever-you-need guy that has defined this defense over the last 2 years. Next up in round 2 at pick 59, we have, let's face it, another first-round player in edge rusher Mike Green out of Marshall. Now, I'm not going to throw my hat in the ring and discuss any of the off-the-field stuff, as I'm not qualified to speak on any of it. As far as his production on the field, you can't ask for a better option in the second round for a team like the Ravens, who struggled to get consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks down the final stretch in 2024. Green will not only give this pass rush room an immediate shot in the arm, but if even some of his production can translate from college to the pros, guys like KVN and OA will be able to stay fresher for longer and be potentially more impactful later in the season and the playoffs. In the third round, the pick number 91, the Ravens selected offensive tackle Emory Jones Jr. out of LSU. While Jones has played almost exclusively at right tackle during his time at LSU, Roger Rosengarten currently operates as the Ravens' right tackle, but Jones would probably be able to fight for a starting spot at either guard position before the start of the season. With his size, experience, and quick feet, he may well end up supplanting Fa'alele or Voorhees. In round 4, the 129th pick, the Ravens took linebacker Teddy Buchanan from Cal. After seeing Harrison, Board, and Welch all leave in free agency, it was a foregone conclusion that the Ravens would need to take at least one linebacker in the draft, and they went with the tackling machine in Buchanan. As far as what his role is going to be in 2025, it's hard to speculate. I find it unlikely that he comes in and immediately outplays and outperforms Trenton Simpson, but at the very least, the Ravens have gained a stud for their special teams. For their fifth-round pick at number 141, the Ravens went back to O-line and selected offensive tackle Carson Vinson out of Alabama A&M. This pick is straight out of the Ravens draft playbook. Draft a somewhat raw player that has all the tools to be successful in the NFL and develop them as much as possible. Vincent shows promise that he could be at least a swing tackle, if not an outright starter, if he continues to work on his technique and put on some weight. Between our coaching staff, the Ravens nutritionists, and our much improved weight training program, I have no doubt he will show progress in year 1, especially with the very likable attitude he's shown so far in interviews. The first of our 5 selections for round 6 was pick number 178, cornerback Bilal Kone from Western Michigan University. At 6'1", 190 pounds, and running a 4.43 in the 40, Kone has the build to make the team and become part of the secondary in 2025. With his ability to stick tight in coverage and go up to play the ball well at the catch point, Kone could carve out a rotational spot on this roster that can never seem to have enough corners. At the very least, much like Buchanan from the 4th round, his solid tackling should afford him significant reps on special teams. The Ravens then went very much against the grain with their next pick at 186, taking place kicker Tyler Loop from the University of Arizona. The implications are clear, as the Ravens have never drafted a kicker in their 30-year history, and the selection of Loop, who has made a name for himself by making multiple 50-plus yard kicks, seems to indicate the end of the Justin Tucker era in Baltimore. For the 3rd pick in the 6th round and the 203rd overall, the Ravens drafted their lone wide receiver, LeJontay Wester from the University of Colorado. At 5'10" and just under 170 pounds, the Florida native exhibits great short area quickness and a fantastic feel against zone coverages. And while he has had success as a receiver, 31 touchdowns and over 3,600 yards in his 58 college games, where Wester may have his biggest opportunity is on special teams. Wester has returned 66 punts over his collegiate career, and over the last 2 seasons, he returned 2 for touchdowns and averaged almost 16 yards per return. Moving back to the defense with our fourth pick in the 6th round, at number 210 overall, we have an athlete who is already becoming a fan favorite and potentially late-round steal in defensive tackle Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech University. Being undersized for his position at 6 foot and under 290 pounds, it might not surprise you that he wasn't picked before the 6th round. But after watching tape on him, you might instead be surprised he wasn't picked in the 3rd or 4th round. What Peebles lacks in size, he makes up for in effort, being what I would personally describe as a high motor kind of guy. He may be a 6th round pick, but be on the lookout for Peebles to make some plays in his rookie season. 2 picks later, at number 212, we have our last 6th rounder, cornerback Robert Longerbeam, out of Rutgers University. Similar to Peebles just a couple picks before him, Longerbeam is already being heralded as a potential steal by several draft analysts and NFL personnel. With 11 PBUs just last year and 37 in his college career to go along with his 5 interceptions and 5 forced fumbles, at least one thing is clear about the expectations the Ravens have for Longerbeam. He's going to be around the ball when he's on the field. The last pick for the Ravens in this year's draft was number 243 in the 7th round, where the Ravens selected offensive guard Garrett Dellinger from LSU. Although Dellinger only played in 8 games in his final season with the Fighting Tigers due to an ankle injury which required surgery, he was a staple of their offensive line over his 4 years. With his solid frame and explosive athleticism, I wouldn't be overly surprised to see him on the roster as a backup or as at least a practice squad call-up. Now, as I admitted in the beginning of this video, several of the Ravens draftees were not nearly as well known to me as some others. Malachi Starks, Mike Green, Emory Jones, and Aeneas Peebles make up the majority of players that I had done at least cursory research into prior to the draft itself. Malachi Starks in particular was a player that in previous videos I had specifically mentioned as someone that I hoped the Ravens would draft. I had also discussed the potential option of Mike Green earlier on before dismissing that possibility as I thought he would most likely be gone before the Ravens picked at 27. I won't sit here and give a grade of the Ravens' overall draft as none of these players have even played a snap in the NFL, but looking at the potential and talent of just the first 3 picks alone is certainly enough of a reason to celebrate this draft as an early success. And while I don't see every one of these players seeing time on the field this upcoming season, I think they each have significant strengths as well as areas of improvement that could be made to boost their chances of carving out a career for themselves in the NFL. For Malachi Starks, however, I do expect that he'll be on the field for a significant amount of defensive snaps in 2025. Does he outright take over the second safety spot next to Kyle Hamilton from Barbarious Washington? I don't have the answer to that, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if Washington's snaps per game went down towards the end of the season. The most important contribution I expect from Starks is in coverage as a free safety, which, as I mentioned earlier, would allow Hamilton to go back to his jack-of-all-trades role, which has worked so well in this defense. Mike Green, on the other hand, is someone who I expect to see a lot more than most of the other second-round picks. With KVN and Nadafe Owe both in the last year of their contracts, the Ravens need to get an idea of what Mike Green can be for this team before they decide to just hand the keys to him. As many draft prospect evaluators have brought up when discussing Green and his production at Marshall, he didn't face elite competition week in and week out. That being said, when he did face elite competition at the collegiate level, including the Senior Bowl, his performance and production saw no drop-off whatsoever. I don't think that we've seen enough just from his college tape to gauge his full impact yet, but I'm excited for OTAs and rookie minicamp to see how he looks and where he can help this defense out. With both offensive guard positions seemingly open for competition, I expect Emory Jones Jr. to be right in the thick of it. Now, offensive tackle and offensive guard are not the same position, but it's more common for a college tackle to become an NFL guard than the other way around. Daniel Faalele showed progress through the 2024 season, and Andrew Voorhees is coming into what could almost be considered his 3rd rookie season. But at some point, something has to give. Either Faalele takes another big step forward, Voorhees proves the Ravens were right to draft him, or Jones comes in and outperforms a more seasoned player. Let's all just hope that we don't see another offensive line carousel like we did in the first month of last season. As for the other 8 draft picks, I see several that could play some snaps for us this year through primarily special teams. Looking at you, Loop. Guys like Buchanan and Peebles may see the field on defense simply due to the defensive line and inside linebacker room being thinner than other parts of the roster. Vinson, Kone, Wester, Longerbeam, and Dellinger, however, have more than a couple of guys ahead of them on the depth chart, and while it's not impossible that they make a big impression before the season starts, I doubt it's enough to unseat a current starter or even a second stringer just yet. I'm really excited for this year's new crop of players, and I think they could make a bigger impact in their rookie season than several of the drafts that have come in the past few years. But more than that, I'm pleased with the mixture of value the Ravens got and needs met by the front office to keep the Ravens a perennial playoff threat and Super Bowl contender. If you guys enjoyed this quick introduction to the newest Ravens draft class, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new. We just hit 1,500 and I'm so thankful for the support and growth for the channel. I have a special video coming out soon to celebrate that milestone. And don't forget to comment down below your favorite pick in this year's draft, whether it's because of the value, the potential, or even the player themselves. As always, guys, stay safe out there and go Ravens.